Welcome to the In the Tank podcast. Get ready for an hour of hot 40k goodness coming in your ears. You're in the tank now, baby.
We're live!
We are indeed live! Hey everyone, how's that? How was that, Ed? Was that okay?
That was a big burst of energy, wasn't it?
Yeah, awesome. How you doing this morning, buddy? We're doing this a little bit earlier this morning, so I'm running on fumes, and Ed seems to be like trying to get his fucking life together this morning. Bless you.
Yeah, everything's like, falling apart around me. Oh fuck! I've got a coffee though, and that's all that really matters. In a big pink cup, obviously.
Me too. So look at my big black cup there to correspond. That kind of represents us completely, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah,
That's
exactly,
our dynamic personified. Yep. How you doing, my man? You okay?
I'm great, mate. How are you?
I'm really good. I'm really good. I'm excited this week. Getting back into routine. Attacking my Dark Angels piecemeal. Breaking it down, as you say.
Like we said.
Breaking it.
Am I still in your head going, break it down?
Yeah. You're literally stirring me on with your pitchfork going, paint it for our event. You need to get it sorted. I'm currently painting 4 Assault Terminators and still hammering on at my jump pack intercessors. I get there. How are you doing? Have you had time to hobby this week, sir?
I have finished off a few GSC units, and I have made a very brave decision, which is obviously we're doing our doubles event in November, which I'm painting 750 points for. I'm going to LGT at the end of September, and I was obviously bringing the Necrons, and then I had a game with GSC at my first 2k points game the other night with one of the guys from my local club, Matt, absolute legend, and we had a fucking blast. My God. Honestly, I came away moist from that game for GSC.
Were you re-energized?
Mate, I was already energized, and I was basically just like double pumped.
No, have we truly lost you to the 4-armed Emperor now? Are you drinking the Gene Stealer cult Kool-Aid? Is that it now?
Exactly. Which is probably just sort of their DNA, which I don't really want to think about. But
yeah, so Charles Manson, where he's like.
Exactly. So I played a game and I had an absolute blast playing them, and I was like, my God, this is the most fun I've had playing this game in forever. So
who was your opponent? Matt,
yeah, Matt,
he was playing. How you doing?
Yeah,
what was he playing?
Doing, yeah,
judging you based on your army choice. Guard! Oh, Guard! You need to log in today because we're going to be discussing Guard later, but that's cool.
We will be,
Wow, Guard. Yeah. Okay, who won? Not that it matters,
so it was a bit. We actually ended up calling it a draw because we ran out of time, unfortunately. And it was very, very close. So it could have been anybody's game, but it was an absolute banger.
To be fair, you're basically playing Guard versus Xeno Guard. So
that's what I was going to say. Yeah, it was literally just Guard versus Xeno Guard.
What was your? Because you always have to ask post battle report. What was your MVP unit?
So my MVP unit was I've got this hybrid metamorph unit, 10 hybrid metamorphs with an icon ward, and I give the icon ward a little enhancement that basically lets him have a reactive move. So if you come within 9 inches of them or fall back from them within 9 inches, they get to make a D6 inches move. And then basically, hang on a second. Basically what happens is I just scouted this unit out. They've got a 4-up fill net pain because of the icon ward. They go all up in his grill. They kill Gaunt's ghosts off the bat. They flamed of Sentinel to death with reroll wounds from getting out the transport that they were in. And then they just charged into another squad and piled into another one. And they were everywhere, all over his lines. And they have
horrifying.
Do you know Blood Surge for what do we call it? The World Eaters, so they have the same thing. So they change one letter.
Have that soon. Blood Angels will have that soon, I've heard.
They will, so they changed one letter, and it's now called Brood Surge, and that unit has that. So basically what happened was, he fell back with the unit, they followed them, which was great, and then he shot the unit, and then they just walked into combat with half his army, and he was just like, shit, this is a problem. So that one unit just caused so much havoc on that side of the board. Eventually he killed it, but then your boy got it back.
I bet he did.
It was so much fun. Very chaotic.
Just because I am, because I'm an Imperial player to my core, and this kind of represents it. Xenos are all the same. Although we need to discuss a new Xenos unit that are making me frothy. What is this unit? What do they look like?
So hybrid metamorphs are, so you've got the acolytes, which are the kind of 3-armed guys. They're the heavier ones. You've got neophytes, which are more human. And then Metamorphs are like the sort of next step towards Gene Stealers. They're all like mutant ones.
The next generation.
Yeah, well, actually, they're
isn't it 4 generations that you need?
So yeah, they're actually the same generation as Acolyte hybrids, but they basically, I think, as the hive swarm approaches the planet, it triggers more mutations in them basically, and they get all like huge like claws and mental shit. So they're more melee-ish than Acolyte hybrids. I think they have like a sweep and a strike profile, which is pretty cool for little dudes.
Very cool.
Yeah,
very cool.
They're really good, and it was a lot of fun. And the game just itself was very chaotic, and we had a great time. So I'm super keen.
Look, man, anything that makes my boy happy to be playing, is all good for me, mate. So mate,
it was great. So yeah, I'm hoping to get them painted to at least a base level for LGT and take them along to LGT as well, which would be fantastic.
Is that the London Grand Tournament? Yeah,
that is, for those who aren't aware. Sorry, using acronyms and explaining, that is the London Grand Tournament. I think it's happening sort of the end of September time. You're not going, are you?
I'm not. Do you know what the crazy thing is about that? Is I nearly went 2 years ago.
Why are you not going this time? What's your excuse?
Life. Life. I've got some stuff on that weekend. I got some family stuff on that weekend, so that's fair.
We'll let you off then, yeah.
But next year, I will lay claim to my calendar and like piss all over it, so that I don't.
So now that we've talked about my absolute love for GSE, what have you been up to this last week, and how have you been?
Yeah, no, I've been good, bro. Vespid. Oh, what? Oh, dude. Cool, oh my god. So I got proper Tau Frothy, and it's kind of, oh my god, man. How cool are they? How cool are they?
Very
that
cool
kill
models.
Team looks insane.
Do you know, I was on the fence that they were going to go to Legends Vespid, but they didn't. So I'm quite glad they got a new kit. Yeah, they did.
Because to me, like, the Tau need more types of auxiliary aliens to kind of make.
Well, that's that whole thing, right? That they're bringing everyone in for the greater good.
They're the Enterprise, right? So they've got to fold everyone in and like, and they really are. And like, and the Vespid have been like a mainstay of like a lot of Tau competitive lists for a while, from what I understand, because they're actually quite stingy, no pun intended. But that kit, and it's going to kind of foreshadow a topic that I want to do in the future, which is the concept of GW actually taking some risks in regards to allowing.
You mentioned this in a previous episode.
Yeah, well, dude, if that's what happens when you're unfilteredly and you're not designing via committee.
Yeah.
And it's like, actually, you need 4 more purity seals on this Space Marine and less do you know what I mean? Like, or less angel wings, right?
Yeah. Or tinier angel wings.
We want smaller ones, Hermes-sized ones.
But at least you know that they're packing in the trouser department, because obviously they're not compensating for anything with those wings. So
true, that's
true. It's a good thing.
Yes. So yes, to have those bug boys, and I'm even thinking about how I would paint them. And I'm like, I would do them in like a metallic green with silver highlights, and then have one of those really cool sort of. I don't know what they're called, but they're basically like color changes for the wings.
Oh I've seen people use those on Drakari quite a lot. They're really cool.
I've used I've used it on Mortarian's wings to give him like
that's a good shout. Yeah.
So I'll do that on the Vespids as well. But really hyped for those, and I might even play Kill Team because of it. Actually,
we're finally going to get you in.
Yeah, with Vespid.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, it's a new edition, right? As well, it's coming up, so I think it's the best time to jump in.
If I can use Vespid, then fuck yeah, absolutely.
Also,
I saw them on the tape very quickly. I just saw them on the table and looking at all their crazy bug wings over a smaller table. It looks so good. It looks like you're just swarming the fucking table.
That's so cool.
Like, oh, cool. Sorry, carry on.
They remind me of like the Mantid from World of Warcraft. If anyone's played that,
they gave me Halo. They gave me Halo vibes.
I get that as well. Yeah, I get that too. Now I can't remember what I was going to say now, but you carry on.
Sorry,
I'll interrupt when I remember.
No, that's okay. That's fine. Like, there you go. You just got to strategically plan your interruptions.
Like, you just blank me out, and I'll shut
up. You ran out of CP, lad. That was your problem. Yeah. Your CP, drain.
No interrupt for me.
No, but yeah, it's very cool. And of course, that lead on to like a few more community posting. One of which is something that I need to talk to the now community. This is again, it's similar to the case situation for like transporting your minis. I need to have a talk to all of you. I know it's clickbaity, and I know it gets views, but you need to stop like doing some crazy conspiracy theories around the Amazon TV show, right?
Oh,
like just stop it.
There's this one channel that just relentlessly does it. And everyone gets annoyed by being recommended it.
1,000 channels being like, is the Amazon TV show in threat? Oh!
Henry Cavill fired by himself?
Shut up! And even worse, like the crazy right-wingers that are like, female custodies, Amazon cancelled. Oh! And I'm just like, you guys need to stop. You just need to stop.
I do. I can't enjoy
right,
it.
It's so annoying. It's so irritating. Like, I just sort of spank you for your like insanely stupid like post.
Yeah.
And this all relates to that because G-Dub's because there's going to be like some weird Amazon geeky like mini show thing for a load of IPs and Warhammer's part of it. So there's going to be a cool like mini movie or whatever for Space Marines or something. And after that, it was like, don't worry about the Amazon TV show. We have some announcements coming soon.
Yeah.
And I was like,
it's still happening.
Thank God. Thank God we have some transparency there. Because like it was all like, oh, this may happen. This may not happen.
It's going to be called, Primarchs of Power. And it's going to be all CGI.
Look, man, you can sit down. I was one of the only... See, this is where we get like the mass unsubscribe now. I was one of like 2 people in the world that quite enjoyed Rings of Power. So... suck my dick. And
okay.
I know. And I'm a massive Tolkien fan with Folio Society editions. And I literally have visited Tolkien's grave and a lot of the things that have inspired Lord of the Rings in and around Oxfordshire. So
I've got a fun random Tolkien fact. When my wife and I were looking for a house in Oxford years ago, we actually looked at one of Tolkien's old houses, but it was way too expensive. But yeah, it was cool.
Oh, that's a shame.
It's nice to go view it. Yeah.
What a geeky flex.
Yeah, it was.
I love how like everywhere claims Tolkien. Like it's like Tolkien's ours, and I'm like, unless you're in Oxford, he's not yours. Thank you.
They've got like plaques on the sides. I can't remember. I do know his. I think is it the Lamb and Flag was his favourite pub or something like that. It was one of those around there.
He's buried in Oxford. He's buried in Oxford. He lived the vast majority of his life in Oxford. He lectured at Oxford. Everyone needs to chill out. Anyway.
Yeah, I can't remember the pub now. But yeah, I've been to the pub that it was his favourite old haunt.
Yes, I remember that. It's in Oxford City Centre, and him and C.S. Lewis used to go and debate stuff there, which is really cool. There you go.
It is good. Good old Tolkien.
Do you remember your? Did you just have a 100110 moment there? Do you
it's blanked. It's gone forever now. That's I only exist in the moment, Russ. You should know this.
May that be a lesson to you, Ed.
It'll come back to me about 3 hours after the podcast, and I'm like, oh, shit.
So, our first major meaty topic of today.
Yes, go on.
It was a fan/listener question from someone called Lara. Hello, Lara.
Yeah. Hi, Lara.
I can best describe, bless her, as a gothic queen. And she wanted a quote-unquote goth girl's guide to the hobby.
Yeah.
So, like, what are some of the most gothic factions, moments, elements, characters of the setting? And we're gonna like basically talk about that just because it's cool and like you know, we answer fan questions. So there we go. We have a fan question.
I'm into it.
So I am going to. Shall I start?
You start, and I will follow you because I've already got something in mind.
Oh, great! Hopefully we cover the same sort of thing, but without treading on each other.
I'm intrigued to see where you go.
So I'm going to have to start with the most emo thing possible in 40k, which means that I'm going to have to try and resist poking fun for too long, because it is quite literally the Space Marine Legion of emo/MCR attenders, and that is the Raven Guard.
A faction that we know you love, you got a lot of time for the Raven Guard.
So for any new listeners of the pod, I am not. There are 2 Space Marine Legions that I can't ever get behind. Technically 3, but we won't discuss those. Which are the Wolves and the Ravens, and I'm like, so we discussed the Raven Guard. Now, one of the interesting things about the Raven Guard, and one of the most unique elements of the Raven Guard, is quite literally how emo they are. So their founding father has been described thus from Imperial records. So I'm going to just give you a quote now. It's just it's a very small one. Corax presented a striking countenance. At least when he wished to be seen, his skin was alabaster white, and he possessed of shoulder-length hair as black as the feathers of his namesake, the Raven, which is an Edgar Allan Poe reference for everybody there, who's an uncultured goth. Most remarkable and unsettling, however, were his eyes, which appeared as entirely black shards of solid shadow. His sable power armor was edged with fine golden figures, and upon his back was mounted a jetpack formed, so emo, into a pair of articulated raven-like pinions that he wielded as murderous, blood-edged weapons of war.
Yeah. There is an audiobook coming out that we're working on together, guys, by the way. That'd be great, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't it? Yeah. So there we go. So very light-skinned, gothy space marines that like to fight in the shadows. They have a bit of a fetish for power claws, from what I see.
Yeah, they do,
because Corax liked his power claws.
Yeah, it's like talons, isn't it?
They take quite a beating in the time period known as the Horus Heresy, because they were very famously Itzvand, so they got absolutely wrecked by the traitors. To the point where they weren't really much of a threat throughout most of the heresy, as far as I can say. And actually, even going into the Scouring and what we know as modern 40k, they're not really very prevalent, although they're very sneaky and very arseholey. One thing that I will say about Corax, which adds to his gothic awesomeness, because this is like his emo phase. This is what I would affectionately describe as like his emo-y kind of scene phase. He goes like full goth when he gets later on in the 40k, 10,000 years, you know what I'm going to say, right? When he decides to leave his tower of solitude, carry on, and says like nevermore to fucking hell, nevermore.
Does he actually say nevermore?
He says nevermore. He says he says
that's
nevermore.
Too on the nose.
May whatever.
He might as well just jumped out of the tower and be like, cut my life into pieces.
And then goes out into the warp to track down one of my boys, Lorgar, who was, to be fair, a bit of a git during the Horus Heresy.
He was, yeah.
And not only does he track him down, but he stalks him in the warp, and because of the warp being all crazy, mutates him into a sort of demon crow man. It's like a demon crow god, where he's like full-on gothy, he's like all like gnarly, crowy, and he's like basically stalking Lorgar in the warp. And Lorgar, in his arrogance, now that he's a demon prince, was like, oh yeah, all right then, I'll fight you. Gets unbelievably wrecked, like so wrecked to the point where Lorgar's like, actually, I'm just gonna go away now.
I'm out.
And like, and vanishes into his own sort of like tower, not to come out. I think because he's like bricking it, that Corax
he's like behind the nets, like
oh no, Corax is there like with his lightning claws, like hey, like waiting for his guy. Which, to be fair, actually, to give the Raven Guard their due, that's pretty cool. If you're gonna get hunted by anyone,
got this amazing mental image of Corax just sat like sticking his head out from behind a tree outside of his thing, going,
like, I don't know,
come and get me. Come out to play, Lorgar.
Well, this is it. I was going to say, have you seen The Warriors? Where it's like, Lorgar, come out to play.
Amazing.
Like that. Anyways, there we go. Oh, God, I'm too high energy for considering
I'm
how
glad. No, you're perfect. I'm glad that you took this from the emo dimension, because I'm coming at this with another Marine faction, but I'm coming at it with the most metal as fuck faction of Space Marines, or sub-faction thereof, which is, of course, the Legion of the Damned. Now, those boys are badass.
Okay. I'm actually a little bit... We didn't talk to each other about this before. You've actually made me a little bit chub.
Yeah.
So I have always wanted to do a Legion of the Damned army.
They're
always,
so fucking cool.
Always. As a kid, I saw that box of Legion of the Damned and was like, that is the coolest bloody kit I've ever seen in my life.
They're so cool. Yeah.
Please explain to the world who the Legion of the Damned are, if you can, even, because
I mean, I don't know all of their lore because they are quite mysterious, but I think from what I understand, they're basically like, I mean, this might be a theory, but that in my mindset, they are a little group of Space Marines that were, I think, fucked basically. By Chaos or by the Chaos Space Marines. And they basically come back as like this vengeful entity that sort of comes out of the ether onto certain battlefields to help out other, Marines and etc. or Imperial forces. And they basically just come out of nowhere. They absolutely just massacre everybody. And they're like all, they're like Space Marines that have got like skulls, like Ghost Rider style for heads. And they're all like on fire, all like coming out of their armor and shit. So they're metal as fuck. Like,
so aesthetically, they have a bit of a fetish for skulls and for fire.
They got all those flame motifs up there, like armor and stuff. It's so cool. The black armor with the flames.
They are Dimebag Daryl on the metal scale. Like they really give no fucks. Like
they don't.
They're really cool. What
so they just rock up and just fuck everyone and then disappear again into the ether, and everyone was like, "Did you see those like flaming ghost dudes?"
What was that? Yeah. I mean, their mystery, as you kind of commented on, their origins are interesting because people think that they're like, oh god, this is where I mess up, but like the fire griffins or something like there's like a chapter that people think they are that either got wiped out or corrupted by chaos or whatever. But regardless, what's really interesting is they kind of tie into like the universe's like faith in the Emperor, right? Because in the same way that like the Sisters' miracles kind of happen, where they believe enough in the Emperor manifests in the war and essentially relays that back to them as like a feedback loop of like uberness. I think that's kind of how the Legion of the Damned work as well, in as much as their whole shtick is to appear on behalf of humanity in humanity's direst need.
They're in like your most desperate hour, basically. They just rock up and they're like the metal song. It's like, if you've ever seen Stranger Things, it's like that bit with Eddie when he's on the roof, like playing the guitar. What he's playing? What was the song?
Master
of Puppets, right? Yeah, exactly. It's like that starts playing. It's like, oh shit's about to go down, boys.
That's gonna clip now. Sorry, mate.
Yeah.
But yeah, no.
That's
sorry, that was worth it for like the short. But yeah, dude. You're right. Yeah, it's when the chips are down. They even showed up at the death of like Cadia, right? And like the opening of the Great
Did
Ring,
they?
which is quite cool. Yeah.
Tight.
That was like the Avengers level event, Cadia falling, and everyone showed up. Like, and the Legion showed up at the end.
So yeah, that's like, if I think the problem with the faction is that you can't get any official Legion of the Damned models anymore that are currently produced. So you have to basically make your own. And I have seen some incredible conversions. There's a guy, I don't know who it was, I will try and find the post, but it was on Instagram. He made a Imperial Knight Legion of the Damned, and it was like all on fire, and it was like charging forward with the shoulder barge. My god, it's amazing. But yeah, so like you have to do a lot of hobbying if you want to commit to that army. But I have seen some that are just incredible,
both from a conversion sense and from like a freehand sense, because you got
because all the flames, that's a lot of work.
I mean, GW barely made any kits associated with the Legion of the Damned because they were just this weird sort of sub-faction. And they had like White Dwarf rules over the years. I remember that they had a kit in Second Ed that I desperately wanted. And I nearly got
I didn't see that one.
I was on my Christmas list one year. That was unfortunately not bought, but that's fine. Dry your eyes, Wes. I had the best Christmas ever. My parents were amazing. But also, there was, I think in like 4th Ed, there was like an updated metal load of metal kits. But essentially, they would be they go for like hen's teeth money on eBay.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
Like hen's teeth money on eBay.
I imagine.
If anyone wants to donate some Legion of the Damned to the channel, please send them our way. But I promise to paint them home
to beyond at least 60%.
I would.
Yeah.
That's highbrow entertainment for you folks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love them. A really cultured choice there, Ed. I will.
You didn't expect that, did you?
I did not know.
You see, Russ has been prepping for this topic beforehand because he's topic master and he writes all the topics. And I just come into this blind and just rock it like an absolute rock star. So
you do.
You're gay.
More like Trump raw dogging, but that's besides the point.
Yeah.
Right, okay. So I'm going to quiz you a second.
Oh, go on.
What
then.
are the creepiest entities in the Imperium that are smaller than your waist in size, Ed?
Smaller than my waist? Creepy entities? Hang on a minute. Let me have a think. Is this... Oh, like little cherubs?
Cherubs.
Cherubs are creepy.
Cherubs.
Cherubs are creepy.
Cherubs, and this is also related to the Ecclesiarchy / the Sisters of Battle, aka the Adeptus Sororitas. So I will point out pretty much everything Sisters of Battle related is very gothy. Everything down to the Exorcist tank.
Oh my god!
Everything down to the Exorcist tank that fires rockets via organ
out of
power.
an organ. Mm-hmm.
To like canonesses and all the skull tits, like the famous sister with the skull tits.
Yeah.
That's Mel's words, not mine.
It's created a problem for Russ because he can't get aroused by tits unless they've got skulls on them now. So
it's a problem. It's a problem.
It's a problem.
It's a serious problem.
Mel's got really good at doing face paint now. So it has its ups and downs.
It does. But yes, so everything in the Adeptus Sororitas thing, but there are two things in particular that I need to talk about that are very gothy. One are cherubs and one of the Repentia. Yeah. So the cherubs... there we go. So cherubs, it's weird. People think that the cherubs are literal babies that are like essentially turned into like little familiars. That's not true. Apparently they're not.
Okay.
They are engineered... sort of mechanicus, semi-automaton-esque creatures. They might be powered by like a human brain or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
The fucking...
They might be powered by like a human baby, but they're not a human baby.
No, exactly. You know,
yeah. They're kind of baby-ish. They kind of probably got a baby's brain and a body, but they're not a baby.
It kind of illustrates... Yeah, exactly. It kind of illustrates how kind of... Unless there's a better phrase, how fucked up the Imperium is, right? Because they're these little like baby cherubs, like you would see in a lot of Renaissance era paintings of like cherubs. But
they're like fluttering about, holding up
like
grapes.
Floating around, and they're like, and they're like little familiars that kind of like help out the sisters by like reloading their, they like reload their guns. And stuff.
I like to think that they don't do anything like that. They don't do reloading. They're just next to the sisters, and then someone comes up to kill the sisters, and the baby's like, and they're just like, what the fuck's that? And it just distracts them long enough for the sisters to be like,
I laugh so hard though. I actually snorted. I love so hard I snorted.
Amazing.
But even Devastator Marines use them because there's like a
they do
Armorian cherub for them. But sorry, that's really distracting me. I'm just telling you my
sorry, derailed you completely.
But they're mega weird, dude. They're so weird. Like how do you take
fucking
your
weird.
factions?
Do you know,
and there's no reason for their existence. You have servitors.
I have to say, I think that this whole thing has come about because Games Workshop, I need to call them James Workshop, but years ago they were a bit more risque, and they were just really gothic and really 80s and really didn't give a shit. Everything looked like a metal album cover, right? I think that they thought,
a metal band.
Yeah, someone looked at a Renaissance painting and was like, what about these flying babies? Let's just make a mechanical version of that. That's fucking rad. And they put them in there. And then they sort of worked their way into the game. And then years later, they were kind of like, how are we going to explain away these sort of weird, like half-dead babies we've got floating around the whole time? Exactly. We can't make them real babies. So I feel like they're kind of trying to explain it away, but they're definitely
Play 40k, kids! You get the play with dead babies. That's so crazy.
They do.
So there we go. That's exactly. When I'm playing Sisters now, I'm gonna have to remember to do that whenever I like do a.
Your opponent's gonna be so confused. I'm gonna use my cherub.
unless we get massive, and they'll be like, "Oh fucking hell!" Like,
yeah.
Brilliant. Repentia are the other half of this gothic thing. So very quickly.
Yeah, cool.
The Sisters of Battle are highly pious. They're basically nuns with guns, right? Very gothy, very cool.
Yeah.
And essentially, the Repentia are nuns that have done something very naughty indeed.
Got a bit frisky in the old...
Unless they're extremely naughty and then they get locked in a Moritat. But
I'm sorry, a what?
Moritat.
Moritat. Yeah.
Engine.
Moritat engine for those of you out there, if you've never heard of those. Actually, so they've got penitent engines, which is other guys, right? And then I actually can't remember what the damn word is now. Hang on a second. But it's definitely not Moritat.
Mortifiers.
I think mortifiers. I think you're right. I think it's mortifiers. Hang on, let's have a look.
I thought it was called a Moritat sarcophagus.
It's mortifiers. It might be. They're mortifiers in the game anyway. But yeah, I'd probably look a knob now just taking a piss out of Russ because he can't speak because he had a lonely childhood. We've been over this in a previous episode.
We've been over this. But yes, so essentially, if you do something very naughty, you have to forsake all of your identity. You're never allowed to speak to non-Repentia ever again. You're basically outcast from your order, and you wear skimpy clothes and are given a massive chainsword.
Yeah,
I think they're called an eviscerator. And you're basically asked to repent for your sins by skinning your opponent with big old chains. They're the coolest thing.
Yeah. They are cool
in particular for me, because I run Penitent Host and I've got loads of those girls. And
I've always thought that the Penitent engines especially are just one of the most metal things in this game. Like it's just a dude or in a sarcophagus or literally just chained, crucified to the front of this engine, and you just go mental, full of combat drugs and just charge in and die.
Well, this is it. And to add to that, if you're really, really naughty, you get, as Ed said, put on a Penitent engine, which is like a massive... semi-massive structure with blades on it and flamethrowers.
It's like a dreadnought, except you're still alive and taped to the front.
The most gothy thing about it is it's powered by your suffering. So the more distressed and I think you are, the more powerful the Penitent engine basically gets. Yeah. So it becomes this
and you're exposed to everything. So you're getting shredded up by gunfire and chainswords and shit, and you're kill them all. Just frothing.
I mean, the Imperium is the coolest, but it is not a nice place to be. But there you go.
Yeah.
I've got
one more choice to make before we wrap it up, which is, I think you've just got to say it. It's also quite metal, is obviously the Noise Marines, right? They are awesome. We've been over them briefly in other episodes, but I just think, I know you're not a big fan, but I just think they are wicked.
No, actually.
You like them, you're coming around to them.
To the point where, even though I want to do Word Bearers as my final 40k army, I think me and Mel are going to share Emperor's Children when they get a range.
Emperor's Children are so cool. Yeah.
Dude, what have you not said?
I mean, they've got a mini that is literally just a Space Marine rocking a huge audio blaster guitar, and it's just so cool.
He basically looks
like a mohawk.
Well, he's painted old school 90s style Noise Marine, which is
he's all colours and everything. It's great.
I affectionately refer to him as Motley Crue Noise Marine. So he's basically got leopard print on him and gnarly other elements to him and a crazy hairdo.
He's a really cool model. Yeah.
It's kind of essence of, right, where it's they use cacophony based sound production to basically pop their opponents' heads into earthquake, and they basically use loud noises as weaponry, which if you kind of use your imaginations could be the most gnarliest discordant metal / classical music ever.
I'm a huge fan of their older kits, even though they're a bit out of date now, because they've got all this stuff where they've got their face has been taken off, and they've got a speaker in their mouth, a huge speaker, and then they just stretch their face back over the hole, and their mouths are stretched around. It's just terrifying. I love it. Imagine facing that down in battle. You'd be like, what the fuck is going on?
That's why I find Eidolon so disconcerting in the Siege of Terror when I listen to the audiobooks, because at that point he has his audio thing, so he doesn't really have a mouth anymore. It's a thing, and whenever the voice person does it, they try and make it sound as distorted and fucked up as possible, because he's essentially speaking through a speaker. That's inbuilt.
It's If any of you seen that old Hulk film where they use the sonic weaponry on him in the park, and it's like, and he's just like, like that's kind of what they do.
That times a billion, where it's like discordant chords. It's like,
It's like, do you remember the guy from? Do you remember the guy from Mad Max who was on the front of that massive vehicle with all the speakers? Like that's kind of their vibe.
Yeah, absolutely,
exactly
That's
that. Yeah, so I would say another one is that if you want a metal army, we've kind of covered emo, metal, rock.
My very because I can't do this without mentioning this. It's actually very much related to this, so that's great. It's one model in particular from the Slaanesh Demon line. It's the Infernal Enraptress.
Oh yeah,
which is by far the most gothy metal
she
really
like playing
ever.
tendons in a harp or something.
No, so it's like she's like a demon of Slaanesh, which is related to the Emperor's Children because obviously they are followers of Slaanesh, the pleasure gods. They just love sex, drugs, and rock and roll, basically. Exactly. And the Infernal Enraptress is basically like a Slaaneshi demon, and she's just like playing a harp, and essentially this harp does exactly what the Noise Marines do, where it like just fries the brains of mortals or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you look a little bit closer at the harp and you're like, that's a dude. And it's like a dead dude. And like the harp is like spinal bits and like, like
I don't think he's dead. That's the worst thing about
it. He's like, Mistress, it sounds so good.
Like, play me. Oh, it's rank. But yeah, that's a really sick
sounds
model.
Great. Isn't it cool? Isn't it cool? There you go, Lara. So we answered your question, gothiness.
Yes.
Gothiness.
Thanks for the question. Yeah.
It was a great question.
That was a good one.
We love that question.
It was a great question.
Wasn't it a good one?
It's good fun. Really good fun.
So we're going to go down to slightly less like topic in terms of it, which is your mental health and the hobby, right?
What a fucking transition.
I know, right? The Prince of Pleasure to like, now let's talk about your childhood.
Let's take it back.
So it's a serious topic, but it's one that we need to discuss because we need to talk about how the hobby can help and how the hobby can hinder your mental health and how to get over it and through it. So I know I've just basically like jumped on you though, mate. What do you have any initial thoughts on this?
I do. I think this hobby can be absolutely incredible for people's mental health because I think a lot of us are very overstimulated, overworked, knackered and all that sort of stuff. And I think that because I know this hobby is a lot of close-up work with the painting and stuff, but it's not screens, which I think is the most important thing. And I think that, being able to take an hour out of your day and just listen to some music or put a podcast on or whatever it is, your favorite In the Tank podcast when you're listening to it, and just do some painting. Take yourself out of it.
That reminds me, sorry, very quickly. Like, comment, subscribe, follow us on social media. Go.
That was 37 minutes in. Well done.
Oh, damn, we're getting worse.
That's a new record.
Sorry, carry on.
No, so, just being able to take yourself out at the moment and chill out for a bit, build some models, paint some models, all of that sort of stuff, I think is fantastic. But what I think is the best element of this is the community side of it. Now, I know personally, because obviously I run Try Hard with a couple of other guys. This is our sort of competitive Discord that we run. We have a few people in there who have spoken to us and said, this community and like talking to you guys has got me through X and Y, whether it be, help me get through my last sort of term of uni because it was really stressful, or whether that be, it's just getting me through some tough times that I'm going through in life. We're all here, we're all friends and we're all chatting. And I think that as we spoke on many times, and I've said this every time I hammer this point, this hobby is a great place to make friends, and everyone's fast friends here because we all share this thing in common. So I think that element of it is probably the best thing for your mental health, and it can be really good for a lot of people. What do you say? Take it back to you.
No, I just wanted to give you a floor there because I think that was a really important thing to say. Like, all jokes about us being like, like, you kind of weirdly, this is how in sync we are as people, which is really quite cute because I love you, babe. I
love you too, babe.
I was just going to basically say very, very similar stuff. I think what I love about the hobby is you simultaneously work on two fronts. You work on like being able to prioritize sort of you time, and as long as it doesn't become like a second job, like all jokes aside about us, like grinding through painting or whatever, right? Like it is one of the most soul-fulfilling experiences for me on my downtime to just block out the world for like a couple of hours and just focus on one task and feel that sense of satisfaction from point A to point B and have that where I want it and be like, oh, that was nice. And, you know, to feel like I'm creating rather than just going through the motions of every day. But also the weird paradox of that where, like, this game forces you to socialize. It's not like
especially if you go to events.
Game, right? Like, exactly. It's not like a video game where you can kind of lock yourself away and never actually really interact with another human being as far as you. Don't get me wrong, I love video games. Video games are great. Like,
I mean, voice chat is the closest you come to human interaction on video games.
And most people are just like, teabag. Right? And like...
Mum Slayer 69.
But to actually be across the table from another living, breathing human being and be like, hey, how are you? What's going on?
It's a shared experience from the get-go, right?
It kind of forces you out of your relative isolation. And there's been times in my life where, like, I could have disappeared down the rabbit hole of solidarity, right? And just got solidarity or solitude?
Solitude.
Sorry. And just like, they're very similar words. And just like, shut up. And just, like escaped into my own universe, right? And actually, it's nice to be forced into a situation where you have to make friends. And granted, there might be people that's, get a lot of anxiety in that regard. And, that's not great. But hopefully that gives you a point of connection with other human beings that you at least know why you're there at the event, right? Which is to play some roll some bones, right? And bond over that. I mean, Christ, we wouldn't have met had it not been for an event.
Exactly.
And I actually genuinely consider you to be one of my coolest friends, and I
Likewise,
adore you. Like just to get really like gooey.
Get gushy,
I think you're an absolutely awesome guy, and I'm very honoured to be doing this project.
And you're a fucking legend too, and the same applies, mate. Back at you.
Thank you. So there we go. Without that, we would never have met. So it's interesting. On the flip side of that, though, there are some negatives in regards to that. So just to kind of like go over that. And number one is try and not compare your painting to others too much. Like, be quite compersive to others' ability to paint. Where you go, oh, that's a great thing, but try not to be self-destructive and even worse, not paint yourself. Because painting, like any skill, and this is me putting on my teacher cap for a second, takes practice. It does take practice. I imagine from you personally, you consider yourself to be a much better painter now than you did even potentially a year ago, maybe.
More. Definitely.
Or like a couple of years, right? And as a result of that, you're improving all the time. And sometimes, you got to break some eggs to make an omelette. And you may not paint a mini that you're 100% happy with. And you're like, And the worst thing you can do is table flip and go, I never want to paint again. You've just got to wear it and go, actually, I finished it. And that's great. Rather than look on Instagram and want to never paint again.
That comparison thing is always a bad idea, and it will always lead you down a bad road. It's the same thing with like women seeing, models on Instagram and stuff, and they're like, oh, why don't I look like that? And then they start not eating properly and stuff. It's just it always ends up in a bad way if you take it if you sort of compare yourself.
Just to support men's mental health as well, like big stacked, like, meatheads, do you know what I mean? As well,
exactly. You look at the gym bus and you're like, oh, why can't I have that body?
Gym bros and supermodels, like that's not representative of 90% of humans. In the same way that like those 40,000 likes on that really well painted Primark is not representative of like 95% of hobbyists. You know what I mean? So,
but I think it's not. I think it is important not to, because there's always going to be a better painter than you out there. Even if you're one of the best, there's always going to be somebody up there. Generally speaking, and I think it can be destructive to keep comparing yourself to others. I think what you should be doing is always comparing yourself to your previous self. And it's a race against yourself, like many things in life, I think. You really want to just be adding that little 1 or 2% every time. And, hopefully you guys who've been watching that along with us have noticed the same thing with our podcast. Like, first week we did this, we've improved the mic quality, now we've got video. It's just a slow improvement. Same thing with your painting and with your competitive play if you're a competitive player. Just take lessons from each thing. Don't burn out, That's another thing I wanted to touch on is burnout. Sorry to hammer the points, but basically I've seen so many people burn out in this hobby because, especially on competitive play, obviously I see it in our Discord and stuff. People will just go mental. They'll play like 5 games of Warhammer a week, even more. They're just absolutely hammering it, getting better and better at the game, but then they don't realize the toll that that's taking on them. And then after a month, they're like, do you know what? I can't play anymore. I'm going to have to put this down. And I think that that's a balance you need to strike, right? You need to be able to put enough into it, but not overdo it, right?
You've got to remember why you did it in the first place. And again,
that's
like
a good point,
if you're clocking in, right, where you're like, you know, here we go again. And, you know, that sinking feeling like, what are you doing? Like, you know, the whole purpose of that, you know, like, this isn't Pokemon. Do you know what I mean? Like pushing it to the absolute limit. And, but, you know, you're not going to be like facing the Elite Four and everyone's going to be like, oh, go you! Take the trophy. You know, like you know, there you go. You know, the reflection is that, like, why are you doing it? You know, and if the answer is because I have to, because I need to be the best.
Yeah. I want to be the very best.
Very best. But if your answer is actually it's because I want to have fun and I want to challenge myself, that's a slightly different
I genuinely
dynamic.
think that's really important.
And you know, and also this is my final point on this subject. So actually, me and you are like rocking it today because Christ, don't attach your ego to your performance.
Yeah.
Stop it now.
Yeah. I think quite a lot of people do this early on, and many of us go through this journey. I think I've been through this journey. Actually, for me, it was with video games, but like,
yeah, me too.
I see a lot of people with 40k do the same thing, where they really get that ego involved, and they just can't lose. And if they do, it really defeats them, and their whole life's affected by it.
This is the problem, right? The only person who you really wreck is yourself, but also it's incredibly disrespectful to your opponent.
Yeah, because then they feel bad for playing a game.
A, they feel bad because they've won, which is never good. Like, that sucks. And number two, you know, if you don't own it, because if you're in that sort of situation where you feel bad already, you're probably not, with the dearest respects, in the best place to self-reflect. Yeah. So inevitably, probably what you're going to do is then, like, blame dice or blame a dodgy list or blame a really OP unit, and it's actually like,
or the
that's
mission,
not fair,
or whatever it is,
and that's not fair on your opponent either, because they deserve to win. Like, regardless of what bullshittery you perceive going on there, they kind of deserve that time to go, I win, right? And like, I try as a functioning adult and now as a father to set an example for myself and my family by going, actually, it's okay. It's seriously okay to lose. It's actually really okay to lose.
I think the most important thing is to look at this, and obviously you're a teacher. You know, you teach guitar. Yeah. Like, you should look at every game as a learning opportunity, whether you win or lose, right? And if you do lose, actually, there's probably a more powerful learning opportunity there, because you can look at things and be like, do you know what did I do wrong in that game that caused me to lose? And talk to your opponent, because most people will go, actually, I think that was a mistake, or maybe you should have done this differently. And then, you know, you're actually learning even more because now you're getting their input on this. And I think that, you know, you don't want to get to a point where you're putting so much pressure on yourself to win every game that you're getting so stressed out if you lose, because then you're not in the right headspace to learn. So you're not even learning if you do win, and not learning if you lose, because you're too like up in there with the ego. You got to just take a step back, breathe, and just understand that we are playing this game primarily for fun first. If you lose touch with that fun, you need to take a real step back for a second and go, why the fuck am I playing this game? Because you don't play board games just because you want to beat everybody. You play board games to have a fun afternoon or evening, right? It's the same thing with 40k. You know, you should be playing this. At the core of it is toy soldiers, right? Play for fun.
And your opponent has put just as much effort as you potentially to be here. Granted, some people don't value the hobby as much as you. That's fine. But, you know, they either invested a lot of time to build paint or whatever, or resources in order to make that happen, either by getting someone else to paint it for them and paying them or whatever. Like, whatever happened, there was a lot of like humanity that went into their army over the other side of the table. Respect it, please, because you know, that's what makes the hobby, and in my opinion, when we get the hobby right, the most incredible place in the world. You know, we're coming at this from like the negative side of the coin here, but oh my God, when all the pieces are in place, and you know, there is no better thing than the hobby for your mental health, quite frankly.
I honestly think it can be so good.
And that bond of fellowship that you have with your fellow gamers there could potentially last you your entire life. So that's one thing to take away. Like, go through it all, go through the learning process, but at the end of the day, you get something so amazing as a result of it.
I mean, we wouldn't be here talking to you, listening to us right now, if Russ and I weren't in the right mindset for our game when we had it back, you know, a year or so ago, whenever it was. Because we'd have come out of it both going, oh God, I lost or won or whatever, and this was shit. And no.
2 years ago, bro.
2 years ago. Okay, right. Sorry. Time flies when you're having children.
Apparently.
But yeah, so, you know, we wouldn't be here now. And I think that's the most important thing to take away from this is that, you know, these kind of friendships that are lasting will come from good experiences where you're both in the right mindset on the table. We had an absolute blast when we played. We were both trying really fucking hard.
In a tournament.
But we had a blast.
In a tournament setting as well. You know, in a semi-competitive tournament setting. So.
Exactly. So I do think it's important to just keep your head in the game, but also remember why you're there and take it down a notch if you feel your ego creeping in. And I think we touched on this when we were talking about cheating as well. That's very much the same thing. Like, people are compelled to cheat because they need that win. That's the road that you do not want to take. It's like the darkest timeline. Step back, look at why you're playing the hobby. You know, why are you doing this? That's exactly it. Russ's glasses have come off. It's just he's out.
No, it's cool. It's just like a really important topic. And
I
think, you know, and you know, at the same time, we really understand. We've all been there.
Yeah,
you know,
we have. It's a journey,
relax.
And don't feel bad for going through it because everyone goes through it. But you'll learn. Yeah. It's another lesson, right? So I think we'll skip our second to last.
Yeah, I was gonna. I was just gonna like fade it without even mentioning it.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Like, we're getting better at this.
Awkward.
You
fucked it all up. Sorry, guys.
Just relax.
Just
okay.
take it down.
So our final topic, of course, our law-based topic.
It is.
So with the discipline required to be a better person on the tabletop and otherwise, you see what I'm doing here?
Yeah.
Is the same type of discipline is required to be a member of the Emperor's Finest. And we're not talking about Space Marines here. We are talking about the Guard.
Oh, that's so cool.
Guard. The best regiments in the Guard. I have 3.
Oh, do you?
Legendary regiments.
I'm sure there's an overlap here. Are you going first or do you want me to go first?
I don't think there will be, actually. I think there won't. But maybe one. Maybe one.
I think I know which one.
So can I go first?
You go first. Yeah.
So I'm setting the scenes. I open Amazon and I click it and I go, ooh, there's a new Warhammer TV show. That wouldn't be. I'd be like losing my fucking mind. I'd be like, and it starts on a war-torn battlefield, and there they are, the ghosts, like wrapped up in camo cloaks,
cool, aren't they?
On the front lines, entrenched. Taking
Tanith
out some heretic. Tanith first and only!
Yeah, baby.
Gaunt's Ghost, aka the Tanith. The Tanith. Yeah. What a regiment. The archetypal regiment, as far as I'm concerned. Written by Dan Abnett, the series.
Dab Abnett.
He dabs it.
He's dab now, yeah.
He might as well be. What do you think of Gaunt's Ghost, Ed? Do you like
They are cool. I'm on book 2, I think, now of Gaunt's Ghosts, and I'm currently on a bit of a hiatus.
Those are some rookie numbers.
The reason why is because I'm working my way through the Game of Thrones audiobooks, and they're about 14 weeks long each. So I've had to put my 40k books on hold for a bit. But no, Gaunt's Ghosts are awesome. I love them. They're so cool. I love all that sort of stealthiness. They've got some great characters in there. Gaunt himself, actually not being from Tanith, but leading them, he's sort of worked his way in and got their respect. He's super cool. The most gentle of commissars, right? Like, genuinely, like, he's not one of those old school, like, I'll shoot you in the back of the head commissars. He looks out for his boys, right? And girls.
Yeah, well, they are. Well, just very quickly, the reason why they're called the first and only is because Tanith, the system that they came from, was destroyed by Chaos.
Yep.
And they literally escaped. They were
they were being founded, right?
Yeah, exactly. Basically. Yeah. They were the only regiment to be saved from the entire planet. So they have this avenging regiment vibe where like they are like the last of their species pretty much, you know.
They're
right?
reckless. I love it.
They don't give a shit anymore. They're like, this is it. And the mega stealthy, which is not unusual for me because
they've got their cloaks and they're very good scouts and like they're very good navigators and stuff because they had moving forests on Tanith. Am I right?
Yeah.
Like, so that's the whole thing. They're really good at navigating even with that. So yeah.
Cool. So cool. So cool. Hard as anything, but there we go.
Yeah.
What is your first regimental choice?
I'm going to go, talking about trees, Catachan jungle fighters have a place in my heart. I think they are so cool. Every time I look at them, I'm thinking like Predator, you know, is Arnie like slapping mud on himself and, you know, they're just cool. I love their vibe. I think they're really fun on the table as well.
So basically, they are an entire planet. In case no one knows, Catachan's a death world. It's basically like a jungle world where the most crazy, everything wants to kill you. The Imperium have left it alone because it just so happens to be the ultimate training ground for one specific regiment of guard who are nails hard, who are basically, as you say, a regiment full of Sylvester Stallone's and Arnold Schwarzenegger's.
They are literally all like that. They're fucking massive, muscle-bound dudes with like red things on their head. Yeah.
Bandanas, you mean?
Yeah, bandanas, that's it.
They do need a range refresh. Like
they do.
ASAP.
Yeah. They will, I'm sure, get one at some point.
Yeah. They're quite a beloved regiment. Like, everyone loves the Catachan.
They've also got one of the best characters ever. For them.
Sly Marbo.
Sly Marbo. Oh, he is so fucking cool.
I love Sly Marbo. Sly Marbo always punches above his weight. I always get surprised by how many points Sly Marbo is, and it's like,
he just comes in
and you're like, what? You're like, he's only 40 points.
Baby.
And he just like takes out your unit of lone op guys and then disappears
cool.
back into the battlefield. And you're like, what the fuck?
He's literally like Sylvester Stallone, that guy.
He's Rambo. He is basically Rambo. What a great regiment. So iconic. And for such a long time before the Cadian refresh, like it was just Catachans for days. It was just like all Catachans for a long time, and that was basically the identity of the Guard for ages. But there you go. Catachan.
I feel like I know which one is coming right up. Come on, hit me with it.
Are you sure? It's not probably what you expect. Okay. I'm going with probably my favourite, actually, which are the Mordian.
Okay, I know where they're from. Yeah, go on.
Oh yes, these guys are so cool. So they come from Mordia or Mordian or whatever, which is a world that is quite crazy because the planet is like split in half by one side is like covered in perpetual darkness, which is where everybody lives, which is kind of crazy, and the other side is like constantly burnt by the nearest sun in their system, so it's completely uninhabitable, and all the humanity lives in the dark side, which basically turns it into a massive slummy sort of hive world where lawlessness is prevalent. If it wasn't for the Mordian Iron Guard to like be basically like the most disciplined, hard as nails mofos. Essentially, they look well weird. They're kind of dressed in like basically tuxedos-esque, as in the movie, suits of like the finest military livery ever, and they look awesome. But like it kind of doubles as like flak protection. And they're spotless. They're like absolutely spotless. Like if you were to like accidentally not like press your clothes in the right way, you'd be like you know, disciplined. It's so gnarly. It's so over the top. Yeah. And basically people completely underestimate the Mordians because they just look like poshos. But actually they are hard. And they're just the biggest pimps. Just the biggest pimps in the Guard.
There's a guy on YouTube called Mordian Glory, I think. I don't know if you've ever heard.
He's like no shade. I'm kind of like about Mordian Glory. He's obviously has some great content and stuff. Bit on the right wing of things for me, if I'm radically honest.
Fair enough. I don't really watch his content, but I know that he collects them, obviously. If you love it, that's cool. No, exactly. Each to your own. But yeah, that's a good pick. Good pick. They're very cool. I thought you were going to choose what I'm now going to choose because you didn't choose it, which is the obvious pick. Because you know me, I love a bit of nuclear stuff. the Deathcore of Krieg.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, cool. Deathcore, cool. Deathcore, cool.
So I love their aesthetic.
These are the old shovel boys, isn't it? These are the old
it's
boys.
more the gas masks that do it for me. I just think that's so cool. Like the whole idea of this sort of very World War One kind of style, World War Two, whatever it is. You know, like you've got all these old gas masks on, and they're on this just absolutely blasted hellscape of a world with just in perpetual war with fallout, nuclear fallout everywhere. It's just great as an aesthetic, really grubby and dirty.
Very grim dark, bordering on grim derp, because life is incredibly cheap for a Krieg.
I love that.
Life is rough, man. Like, you know, life is pain and suffering until you serve the Emperor willingly and you die.
They need more models. They've got that really good Kill Team release that they had recently, the plastic one.
They have a lot of Forge World stuff.
Yeah, they have a lot of old stuff because they've got all those like horses with gas masks on and stuff, which I think is cool.
Rough Riders and stuff.
Right? Yeah, so they do need some more plastic kits, but they are very awesome. I love them.
I mean, iconic. I think a lot of people, that's their favourite regiment, actually. They're a bit of a meme because, like, the shovel meme is massive.
Yeah, where, like, the shovel meme is great.
When in doubt, use the shovel and, like, wreck an opponent with a shovel. They are probably the ultimate badasses. I think they're they're so hardy.
Although, I don't think that they win... I don't think they win most ridiculous melee weapon in 40k. The shovel is close, but I actually think the GSC Pipit with the road sign that the Aberrants have.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Just bang. I just imagine the noise that would make, like a big bang noise.
Especially hitting a Space Marine.
Can you imagine the Space Marine just turns around and dong. It's like...
There you go, see.
Good one.
So, my final choice is going to show my age. God, I'm old. God,
you are old.
And you might not even know this deep cut from the lore here. There was even a series of books based on this. Do you know what the actual sort of street name is of the 13th Penal Legion?
Oh, you would love a Penal Legion, wouldn't you?
I would.
No. Go on, tell me.
They're also known as the Last Chances.
The Last Chances? I've heard of the Last Chances. Where are they from? Rings a bell.
They're not from anywhere specific. They're from all over the shop.
Yep.
And basically, Colonel Shafir, or Shafir, however you want to pronounce it,
yep.
is basically this really hard mofo that basically offers, in a battle royale, Hunger Games-y kind of way, some of the most criminal, evil people in the galaxy a second chance to serve in the Last Chances in a sort of Dirty Dozen-y kind of way.
I love it, yeah.
And if you do, you will have years, if not decades, knocked off your prison sentence in return for serving. Squad. Very much so.
What are we, some kind of Suicide Squad?
The models were so cool. So back in the late 90s, I remember them appearing in a White Dwarf. You could get the entire... Penal Legion, Dirty Dozen, Colonel Shafir's bodyguard, and then which were the Last Chances, which included people called Shiv, which is really funny.
Amazing.
Scope. I know.
It's such prison names.
Warrior Woman, Hero, Grease Monkey was another guy.
Amazing.
Fingers, Ox.
Okay.
And I actually remember what all of these guys committed crime-wise. This shows Grease Monkey nicked a Eldar Gravitank from a Eldar embassy.
Yeah.
Hero refused to take an order from a commissar and killed the commissar instead, led his, instead of doing a suicide mission, and led his squad to victory, which is quite ironic.
Wow, okay.
Scope murdered some sort of high-ranking sort of person. Ox accidentally killed three other guardsmen in a drunken brawl.
Amazing.
Fingers, I think, tried to nick some whiskey from his commander's
not where I was going with his name, but carry on.
Yeah.
Finger the Commissar.
And basically, it was a book series based on this, and literally, people would die all the time. And,
sounds really cool.
And the 1%, less than 1% that survive will be allowed to go home and live their crappy life in the Imperium without being in a cell. So, the Last Chances are
That's
shit.
great.
But you didn't expect that.
No, I did not expect that.
Bit of lore knowledge for you out there.
I'm going to give an honourable mention to my boys, the Bree brothers. Yeah. Not technically a regiment, but you know.
Glory to the four-armed emperor.
Exactly. Oh, they got a new kill team recently as well.
Who said Boo Earns? That guy.
It was him.
Who said that? It was him. It was him.
Yeah,
he did it. I also want to show a shout out because we didn't have time to discuss them. The Valhallan Ice Warriors.
They're cool. I know they're cool. Yeah. Cool. My mate Joe, who I've streamed with on Liam's show, he's done a Valhallan army and they're very cool. And he's got Lord Solidiontis is riding a polar bear. Oh, very, very cool. Old metal model.
I know probably what he used for that. I imagine, I'm guessing that he used a Kislev polar bear for that.
I think it is that one, yes. It weighs a ton. You could literally kill your opponent with
it's metal.
It's metal. It's huge, yeah.
It's metal. A friend of mine had one. The manager guy had a Kislev army that I remember drooling over and being like, oh my God. Again, if you want to buy those online, good luck with that. It's going to be a pricey endeavor.
Yeah, you better be rich.
And of course, Cadians, right?
Yeah,
the purple-eyed freaks that hold the thing. Yeah, absolutely. The planet fell before the guards.
We've definitely named all the best regiments there. If you guys have got any other regiments that you think we've missed or you think are honourable mentions or should have made the list, then please do leave us a comment in the video below. Yeah,
bring it on. Bring it on, all of you Guard fans. You're out there. I know you are. Weirdly,
there are a lot
popular
of you.
Faction. Despite the fact that it takes remortgaging your house in order to actually afford to play them.
It's a huge army to collect. So on that note, please do give us a like, give us a comment if you've got any feedback or if you want to comment on any of the stuff we discussed this video. Give us a subscribe if you want to see more of us in the future. We will be coming to you every week. Little call to action there.
There you go, see. But we love you. Thank you. And remember,
we do love
keep
you.
Your mental health together. Keep your mental health together. Be kind to yourself. But also learn from your mistakes, everybody.
Exactly.
All right? Peace.
We'll see you next week.
Ciao!
Ciao!